In order to age gracefully, we seek serenity, security, and safety. Our obligations have diminished. We have more time to pursue new interests. Fulfillment at any age is possible. Please join us as we explore the needs and the attitudes that help us ensure the best is yet to come.
Welcome to The Best Is Yet to Come, a program designed to show that growing old also has expectations of fulfillment. I am Lorraine Wickman, your host. Mount Wachusett Community College is sponsoring this series because the mission of the college is to provide educational opportunities for all ages. Guests will offer their stories, and we hope that through listening to these stories, we can be lifted up, we can get information, and we can get the idea that fulfillment is available at all ages. In 1994, 1 in 10,000 people were expected to reach the age of 100. Today, the numbers have changed, and it's 1 in 6,000. And today, we are so fortunate to have 1 in 6,000 who has reached the age of 101 years old. Her name is Mary Burke. Welcome, Mary. Nice to have you here. I know that you've lived a long time, and the first question that everybody wants to know about you is, how have you done it? What is your secret to longevity?
I don't really have a secret. My living a long time has been that I have trusted in the Lord. When I was born, my mother had just joined a new church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and she brought us up on the health principles of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. No meat, no coffee, no tea, milk, and the healthful foods. And we, being little children, we obeyed my mother. At that age, you obeyed your mother. Mm-hmm. And whatever she put before you to eat, you ate it with relish because most of it was good. Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that faith played a very large part, and you avoided risky behaviors as well.
Exactly.
Yes, and that does make for long life. Let's go back to the beginnings. Where were you born?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. I can't tell you whether I was born in a hospital or at home, but wherever I was born, I came out okay.
Did you live in Baltimore for a long time?
I lived in Baltimore until I was 50 years old.
Oh, really? I see.
Yes.
And what happened at age 50?
I left Baltimore. I had the desire all along to leave Baltimore. I didn't want to stay there. And I tell you, when I left Baltimore, I went to Japan.
What brought you to Japan?
My husband.
Were you married at that time?
Of course, with my husband, I was married.
Well, I didn't know if you met him there or what.
No, I was married there, and my husband was in the service, and I went over there to bring him back home.
What a culture shock.
Well, I took my niece with me when I went over there, and she was 12 at the time, mm-hmm. and we had a wonderful time. Do you want me to tell you about my life there?
Well, let's go on. What happened after Japan?
I came back to America, and I lived, let's see now, where did I live? So many places, I forget.
So you have been around the world, is what you're saying?
Well, yes.
A lot
you
of
might
different
say
places.
yes.
And what brought you to Gardner?
Well, I had to move. Where did I come to Gardner from? You know, at 101 years old, you have to stop and think sometimes. Where did I come from when I came to Gardner?
You've been here how long?
In Gardner?
Mm-hmm.
I've been here quite a while.
More than 10 years?
Yes.
Uh-huh, okay.
When I came from, let me do it. When I came from Japan, I went to Washington, D.C., and then my husband was transferred to New Jersey, Fort Dix, so we moved there. And then we moved to Massachusetts, where he was transferred, and we bought a home there in Lancaster, Massachusetts. And let's see, where did we go from there?
But eventually you came to Gardner.
Yes.
Now, you've seen a lot of things in your lifetime, and one of the things that you must have countered is racism. And so I want to talk to you about that, and I want you to edify us on how that showed its face.
Well, being in the Army, and I say in the Army because that's the way we equate it with the families, you came across it in very subtle ways. Most of the time, they were not allowed to openly show racism.
I see.
Our homes were integrated, and sometimes we had a little bit better than some of the others did, the Caucasians. When we were in Japan, we did have a much better, we had apartments, so to speak, and we had a much better apartment than the rest of them did.
So are you saying that you were really not touched by racism as you grew?
No, I wasn't. As a youngster, I found racism because in the schools that I went to, they were black, white, pink, green, yellow, whatever. They were not all black or all white.
Right.
But, and I say the same thing until I went to college, and I went to college in New York, and that was a Hunter College.
Yes.
And it was integrated.
Okay. So you really have not been scathed by racism, have you?
No, not really.
That's wonderful to hear.
Well,
but you talked about the subtlety of racism in the North to me. Can you describe that?
It didn't keep me from being a little upset by the things that happened. And most of the problems were subtle problems. In other words, you would go into a situation believing that everything was going to be equal, so to speak. But as you got into it, you would find that these things would come out. You weren't allowed to do this, or you weren't allowed to go to this place or that place. And it was very subtle, and it would strike you suddenly because you were not expecting it.
I see, sure.
And so, but depending on your point of view as to whether it upset you physically, mentally, or whatever, or whether you were able to accept it and go with the flow, so to speak.
I understand.
And most of the time, I was able to go with the flow.
I understand. Now, you've had some job skills as you matured, and could you tell us a little about those things?
Well, when I went to college, I studied secretarial skills, and when I came back from college, I didn't pursue them, and so I became a little green or not very skillful. So I decided I would work up on what I was doing, shorthand, typing, and so forth, bookkeeping, and I went to night school. And I became very friendly with the teacher because I was not like the rest of the students in that she was not having to begin at the beginning with me.
I see, sure.
Because
you came with some skill sets already.
Exactly. And so in that time, I used to come up to Martha's Vineyard for the summertime. And I waited on table up there. My mother, we used to go home and tell my mother what happened, and she said, I think you're really on vacation and you're not really working. But I was getting ready, packing my clothes to go to Martha's Vineyard when the phone rang, and this lady who was coaching me on my thing said, what are you doing? And I told her. She said, well, just unpack those bags and get yourself downtown and tell this man that I sent you, that you are now his secretary.
Oh.
So I felt, well, you know how you'd feel if you're going to tell somebody.
Affirmed.
Yes.
Oh, you felt affirmed? No?
No, he was just beginning his work as a lawyer. So we were really beginning together.
Together, right.
And when you tell somebody that you are his secretary when he hasn't interviewed you, it takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
But I did, and we worked together until I quit and went and got married. And we worked together a long time.
Now
and I got the reputation that I was the best secretary downtown.
Wonderful.
But
now,
of course
you and your husband made quite a team.
Yes.
I think that the story you told me is such an interesting and inspiring one. Talk to us about fostering, how you fostered so many children.
Well, we had no children of our own at that time. We were adopting. We adopted 2 children. We didn't have any children of our own ever. But we adopted 2 children, and you might consider they were our own, a boy and a girl. But also, we became aware that there were a number of children who were in foster homes or were in homes that were not exactly what they should be. And this agency was sort of farming, shall I say, the children out. So my husband suggested that maybe we would take some of them. So I said, well, okay, I don't have anything else to do. I wasn't working. He was one of those men whose wives did not work.
I see.
You've seen them. So I was at home all the time. So we decided that we would take some of these children. We ended up taking 26 of them.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, we had got along. All of them were very nice. As a matter of fact, one of them went to the judge and had his name changed to Burke.
Oh.
And he's still my son.
Oh.
He lives in Fitchburg.
Really? How wonderful. So you
only
claim...
had problems with one.
You have 3 children, I thought you said.
I have a boy and a girl, and 2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl.
Yes.
So what did fostering do for you? I know what it does for the children, but what does it do for you?
It did a lot for me because it gave me something to do. It gave me something to occupy my mind with, being a mother to these children and giving them the right things that they needed. Some of them needed quite a bit. Some of them didn't. I only had one disaster, and that was a 16-year-old boy, which I shouldn't have taken in the beginning.
Well, That's a pretty good record. That's a pretty good ratio of success, I would say.
I enjoyed it.
What is meaningful to you now? And what has been through your lifetime?
To be of service to people.
Really?
Yes.
And you've proven that by doing the fostering.
Well, I try to help people, and this is one of the principles of my church.
Of helping.
To reach out and help
and to
others.
serve, yep.
Yes. And this is the thing that motivates my life now, is my church.
What do you find good about living in the United States of America? What's good about this country?
Well, I might say, I have to stop and think about it. I think the professed freedom that we have,
Yes.
and I say professed because we don't really have the freedom that they say we should have.
Explain.
Well, there is in the United States, here and there, racism.
Yes.
And this affects you, it affects almost all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something depending on the person who is affected as to whether it is devastating or whether they can sort of roll it off of their backs and come through and still get the best out of life.
So you're saying that America, what it stands for and offers is freedom.
It's supposed to.
Well, nothing is perfect in this world,
Right.
but we try, don't we?
It offers more freedom here
Okay,
in the United
that's
States.
a good way to put that.
Yes.
What motivates you? Every single day you have to get up, and you've done it for 101 years.
Right.
What is it that gets you up and going?
Well, right now, the thing that gets me up and gets me going is each day of life that I have. As I wake up in the morning, my first thought is, thank you, Lord, for another day of life.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to bed at night, that is my last prayer. Lord, I commit myself into thy care, that you either wake me up in the morning or you lay me to sleep until Jesus comes.
Right. What a wonderful philosophy that is.
Well,
and so simple. It's very
that's
simple.
true.
Because we do have something or someone that is bigger than we are.
Exactly.
Don't we?
Exactly.
Now, you had a 100th birthday, and that was pretty special. Let's hear about that.
Well, that's my children's fault. My son and my daughter and my niece, well, all of my family, I might say, they get together behind my back and do things. They're working on something right now.
Oh.
For my 100th birthday. But for my 100th birthday, they decided they were going to have a get-together. So they got all this family people together and friends and acquaintances and everybody that they could think of.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know anything about it until a short while before it was to happen. And then my niece came, and my children informed me that I was supposed to go with her where she went.
Uh-huh.
And so that was to this place in Lancaster that I don't remember. It was a military place that the Army had. The retired people.
A hall.
Yes, that is the hall.
A hall.
And when we got there, she picked me up and drove me down there. And when we went in, all of these people stood up and said, "Happy birthday," and so forth.
Nice.
And I stood there like, I don't know what I looked like, really, because I was surprised.
Was
I
there
really
a cake?
was, huh?
Was there a cake?
Oh, yes, and I was supposed to be cutting the cake, but a lady came, one of our teachers of our
In
school.
school.
As a matter of fact, she's the principal of our school.
Uh-huh.
She came and said, would you like me to cut the cake for you?
Yes.
That was a polite way of saying you're messing up the cake.
Oh. Now, also something else special happened then. You got a presidential letter.
Oh, yes. I got a picture of the President Obama. I got a letter from him. And I got a letter from his wife.
Whoa, those are treasures.
And that's fact. And the lady takes precedence.
Yes.
Well, I don't have any place for the picture right now. And the letter is with the picture. But she has a place in back of a picture that I have with two of my friends. The three of us, I don't know what the occasion was, but we are all dressed up. And they took this picture of us. And so I keep the letter from Mrs.
Yes.
Obama right behind that.
Nice, nice. How wonderful to be called special. Even though each of us is special in our own way, it's nice when others
It is
do
nice.
something like that for us.
And it's nice when it goes on and on and on and
Yes,
on.
Yes.
And even though I have a birthday that'll be coming up in, what is it?
In March.
Yeah, well, that's a while away. But people remember it all the time.
Nice. Now, we talked about, you just mentioned that you had three friends, or you were three friends.
Mm-hmm.
What qualities do you think are necessary for someone to be called your friend?
Oh, my goodness. You're putting me on the spot. I'd have to stop and think. They have to be very sincere people.
Okay.
I don't want anybody who's going to be, as we say, two-faced,
Okay.
pretending to be your
Right.
friend, but on this end, but not on this end.
Okay.
I think a friend, and I would like somebody to be available in time of need,
Okay.
to be available for my needs, to
All right.
supply my needs. And also, I would like my friend to be a member of my church.
Really?
Yes, I would.
You have no friends outside your church?
Very few.
Really? But you do have some.
Yes.
It's not exclusive, is it?
It's not exclusive. It's not a requirement.
Oh, okay.
But I do have a few that, some from way back.
Mm-hmm.
They're very few and far between. And I can't even remember all of them. But I know when I go back to Maryland, I find them. And then, of course, there's my relatives. I have relatives like you wouldn't believe.
But haven't you outlived all of your relatives?
No.
You have some centenarians among your relatives?
Well, no, they're all young people.
What do you call young?
Well, like my nephews who are in their 50s,
Oh,
60s,
okay. All right. That's fine.
and so forth, and their wives and their children. And I don't have any who are my age,
No.
or even near my age. I have
You know-
some church members who are, and are hoping that they live long enough to reach my age.
You have seen a lot in your life, and a lot has transpired in the world in your lifetime. If you were going to pick one invention that has most benefited the world, what would that be?
Oh my. You're really putting me on the spot. I don't know. What would be the... I think it would probably be television,
Okay.
or I think it would be television.
Okay. And for what reason?
Well, I think of people being here to East Timbuktu, so to speak, and communicating with people
Yes.
over here, clear and purposeful.
Certainly television has played a large part
Exactly.
in our development. It's making us, it could make us closer to each other.
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
And it has played quite a role in helping people in serious situations.
How is the youth of today compared to the youth of your day?
Well, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, for instance, the youth of today need to be able to go to places, what shall I call them? I don't want to call them bars. What's a better word for that? They need to be able to go out and do what they want to do, which sometimes is not good.
So are you saying
But
that the choices that the youth make today are unlike the choices that were made?
Oh, much different.
Okay. So there's more leniency, would you say, today?
More leniency with the parents, and more leniency even with the behavior of the children.
Yes. Well, one depends on the other, does it not?
Exactly, exactly.
So if you had a message that you could give to youth today, what would that be?
Listen to your parents.
Would it be that? Listen to your parents.
Under certain circumstances, because, and I say that because some of the parents are not any better than the children.
So where does it start?
It starts way back before those parents when they were young.
Do you think, now you've observed life from a lot of different aspects because of your longevity. What is it that changed the family structure so that it is no longer the family that you knew as you were maturing?
The fact that travel has become so easy.
Okay.
In my day, you didn't just jump on a plane or a train or drive a car and just take off. You had to sit down and consider the situation and how much it was going to cost and who was going to be going with you. You had to consider all phases of it, how long you were going to stay.
Yes.
Nowadays, you get the idea, oh, I want to go to East Timbuktu. How long will it take me to get there? How do I get there? Am I going to be available for the train or the plane and you would just get ready and go.
So travel is one thing. What about women working? Do you feel that has had an effect on our youth?
Yes.
You do?
I think it's had an effect on our youth. I think it's had an effect on the world, period.
Because?
Well, because it has meant more freedom for the women.
Which is a good thing?
Which is a good thing, I think. Depending on, well, you have to do all things in moderation.
That's right, yes. We forget that sometimes,
Yes.
don't we?
That's true.
We forget that.
And you can't take that too far.
You know another thing, too, about the world as it is today, the expectations that people have of what life is giving them is costly. So that's why you have two people working,
Yes.
and things have become paramount.
And you have to remember, as you think of what life is giving, how much you have to give back.
That's correct. That is such a profound but true statement.
Exactly.
You know, we're here. What are we here for?
Right.
What angers you? Do you ever get angry?
Once in a blue moon. And when I get angry, I don't really get angry. I get upset. I think you could call it better than getting angry. And I get upset with my son occasionally. And not that he's done anything bad or really, anybody else probably wouldn't get upset. My son is a very matter-of-fact person, and it's probably the way I raised him. I don't know. But mostly I think of our communication. And I think I mentioned this once to you. My daughter, when we get together to communicate, that's on the telephone or
Yes.
however else, it goes on and on
Yes.
and on. If I'm doing anything, when she calls, I put it aside.
Yes.
Because I know, for instance, about 3 days ago, she called me. It was early afternoon. It was dark when I got finished talking to her.
Oh, my word.
Yes, and we had been talking all that time.
But you see, that's a female thing.
Yes.
The males are they're from a different planet.
My son calls me and says, "Hi, Mom, how are you today?" And I said, "I'm fine. Everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, you got no problems?" "No." "Okay, goodbye."
That's a male thing.
That's true.
So that upsets you.
Well, because it's so short.
But you know what else? I'll tell you, Mary. We need to be with our children more than they need to be with us.
Exactly.
Isn't that so?
Exactly. You really hit the nail on the head.
Now, they tell me that you play the piano. Do you still play?
Not much.
Do you love it?
I do. And I have a piano, but I don't play often. I try to get to it every day.
Oh, good.
Well, because I'm trying to build up my skill.
But does it provide pleasure for you?
When I play, yes.
Yes, it
When
does.
I play.
Okay.
It doesn't. I feel very bad because my mother was giving me piano lessons, and I had a scholarship coming from my teacher.
Oh.
And something happened that day, which I won't go into, and I didn't go to get my scholarship.
Do you find, though, that as you age, your fingers, are they limber enough to play?
Yes, I don't have any problem.
Really?
My only problem is that most of the time they want to do what they want to do. And
What
so
is your favorite kind of music?
right now it's in a hymnal.
The hymnals.
Yes.
The old
Well,
songs.
it's whatever hymnal I come
Yeah.
across, and we have several books that we use in our church.
I see.
When I was younger, it was classicals.
Do you like to sing? Uh-oh.
I like to sing, but I don't sing very well.
Oh, I see.
don't
Well,
think
if that's the voice God gave you, you got to give it back.
Right, this is true.
Now, we're going to wrap this all up
Right.
by asking you this question. If you had 5 minutes to speak to the world, what would your advice be?
Oh my, you're really putting me on the spot. Well, for one thing, I would say, I think, depending on your family, to try to have a closer relationship with your family,
Okay.
with all of them, especially your children. Try to relate to the affairs of the world so that you have the best relationship with those whom you come in contact with, and with the what do I want to say? I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it. With the administration of your local administration,
Yes.
and as it progresses
Yes.
on up.
Have respect for those who are in
Exactly.
authority over you.
Exactly.
Yes.
And where you're called upon, when you're called upon, if you can fulfill what is asked of you, to do it.
Do it, yes.
Yes.
If only everyone did that.
Mhm.
There are so many jobs out there with no one to fill them.
Exactly.
And if everyone did just a little, our world would be much better. Thank you for watching, and especially thank you to Mary Burke, our centenarian guest, who is with us today, who gave us a look at her journey, her life's journey. This is Lorraine Wickman telling you that until we meet again, remember that we need to grow older. We don't have any choice about that, but we don't need to grow old. And remember that the best is yet to come.